I, 15-year-old female, and my dad's a fair baby. My mum didn't know he was married and broke it off when she found out, but she was already pregnant. She decided to have me and has always been a great mum to me. A lot of my friends don't get along with their mums, but mine is really cool and I wouldn't trade her for anyone. My dad takes me out on the weekends to do things and visits on holidays, but I've never lived with him or anything. When I was younger, he had to take me to his house for a few hours one time when my mum was really sick and his wife yelled at him, and I had to stay in a bedroom away from her because she was so mad. My mum explained the cheating when I was older and realised how weird the situation was compared to friends with divorced parents. I have feelings about it, but he's my dad, so I try not to think about it a lot. I know my dad's wife hates me and is the reason I can't see him more, so yeah, she has a reason to be mad at him, but also screw her. So a couple of months ago, my dad started asking if I would like to spend whole weekends with him. I said I would be okay with it if it wasn't at his house. He said his wife wants me to come and she's had a change of heart. Sounded really suspicious, so I said no. Then this weekend she wanted to come have lunch with my dad and me. She said that she realised how important I am to my dad since they can't have kids now, and that she would like to make up for it all and be my stepmom if I would let her. It really made me mad because my whole life she's made it really hard to see my dad, and now she wants to be nice. I might be the jerk because I told her that if she can't have kids, that's karma for how she treated me, and she's never going to be anything but my dad's wife. She started crying, and my dad told me later that was a terrible thing and I need to apologise. My mum said that she put me in an unfair situation and I should probably avoid talking to her right now because she's having to deal with infertility and hasn't really gotten over things. Am I the idiot? I feel like she kind of deserved it. Update. First off, JFC, some of you adults are unhinged, insisting my mum must have known he was married and calling her an intimacy lover and she should have aborted me. Who hurt you? For real, get help. You sound like basement-dwelling incels that haven't seen any light but your computer screen in years. I had lunch with my mum and dad today to talk about things. I asked my mum to come with me because I didn't want to see him by myself. I told my dad he had to leave his phone in the car or I wouldn't come. I told him that I don't want to go to his house or see his wife. I won't see him anymore unless he makes sure that his wife won't interrupt us constantly. I'll have my driver's license soon, and if we meet somewhere and he picks up the phone or his wife shows up, I'm leaving. I love him, and I don't want to not see him, but I can't do it anymore. My mum says I can choose whether I want to see him or not. He said he loves me, and he understands, and he doesn't want to lose me from his life. He promised he would work it out over the Thanksgiving break, and we could talk about spending more time together when I get back from my grandparents'. My mum said to try not to think about it and just enjoy being with the family and seeing my cousins, but yeah, that's going to happen. So maybe I still have a dad when I get back and maybe I don't. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, OP. Why are you giving a pass to your father? You do realise he caused all of this, right? He's no angel and he sure as hell isn't as good as you seem to think he is. You're judging her for a mess he created. Was she right in her actions? Absolutely not, but recognise that she's a victim here too. No idiots here because you're all victims of your father's shitty choices. Comment 2, not the idiot. When she learned of her husband's affair, she had two choices. Leave or stay and treat the baby, you, with common human decency. She chose option 3, make the innocent baby the scapegoat. Stay away from her, especially while she's dealing with her infertility. Your plan of only seeing your dad away from her is a good one. Now, for the update. A lot has happened since I last talked about the whole mess with my dad and his wife. I've been trying to sort through my feelings and figure out what I want to do about everything. It's been a pretty intense few days, and I'm still not sure where things are going to go from here. The day after the lunch disaster, my dad texted me to apologise. He said he was sorry for how things went down and that he wanted to make things right. I didn't reply because I was still mad and didn't know what to say. My mum told me to take my time and that I didn't owe him a response until I was ready. 2 days later, my dad showed up at my school. He waited outside until I was done for the day and approached me as I was leaving. He looked really sad and said he just wanted to talk. I was still feeling pretty raw about everything, but I agreed to go for a walk with him. We ended up sitting on a bench in the park nearby. He told me that he had a long talk with his wife after our lunch and that they were going to see a therapist to work on their issues. He said he understood why I was upset and that he didn't want to put me in the middle of their problems anymore. He also said he was going to make more of an effort to spend time with me without her being involved. I listened, but I didn't say much. I was still processing everything. I told him I needed some space to think about our relationship and what I wanted it to be. He said he would give me all the time I needed and that he would be there when I was ready to talk. The next day, my mum and I had a long conversation about everything. She said she supported whatever decision I made about my dad, but she also reminded me that people can change and that maybe his wife was really trying to make amends. I wasn't sure I believed that, but I appreciated her trying to help me see things from a different perspective. I spent the weekend at my grandparents' house, trying to distract myself with family and fun. It was nice to get away from everything for a bit. But the situation with my dad was always in the back of my mind. When I got back home, there was a letter from my dad waiting for me. He wrote about how much he loved me and how he regretted not being a better father. He said he was committed to making things right and that he hoped I could forgive him and his wife in time. I haven't responded to the letter yet. I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do. Part of me wants to try to rebuild our relationship, but another part of me is scared of getting hurt again. So that's where things stand right now. I'm caught between wanting to give my dad another chance and being afraid of opening myself up to more pain. It's a tough spot to be in, and I'm not sure what the right move is. I guess only time will tell what happens next. Now for the comments, comment 1. Hey kiddo, I get why you're feeling torn. It's okay to be angry, and it's also okay to take your time to figure out what you want. Your feelings are valid, and setting boundaries is super important. Just remember, people can grow and forgiveness can be healing, but it's all on your terms. Comment 2. I've been there with family drama. My stepmom and I clashed for years. It took a lot of talks and time to get to a good place. It's tough, but sometimes giving people a chance to show they've changed is worth it. Take it slow and protect your heart, but keep an open mind. Now, for the next story. I, 42-year-old female, am one of 5 children, and my father died when we were very young, leaving my mum and my 4 siblings. My parents had collected a lot of cool things over the years. When my mum downsized to a condo after all the kids had left home, she got rid of a lot of items that she no longer had room for. We all had things that we were sentimental about, and as one of the younger siblings, I didn't request anything, although I had strong connections to a few items. After everyone had decided on what they wanted, I wound up with 3 things that were of little to no financial value, but I treasure them for the memories they represent. The first item is a tractor seat that is bolted to a butcher block to make a funky chair. The second item is a 1970s tacky spice cabinet, and the third thing is a set of stoneware pastry bowls that my mom had saved green stamps to buy. Over the years, my siblings have sold, destroyed, or lost the items that they got, and now when they come to my house, they often comment on the things I have, saying things like, "I didn't know you got those, and I've always wanted that." My mum even told my sister behind my back that she could have the tractor seat chair that I had, because I wasn't really using it. My mum saw that I had it in the garage because I was protecting it from the weather, and it needed sanding. For other reasons, I have gone no contact with this sister. Well, she texted me out of the blue to ask if she could have the chair. I told her it was sentimental for me and I would prefer to keep it. She tried to guilt-trip me about how she didn't have anything left from our parents. I didn't reply, conversation over. I also knew that if she had it, it would likely be ruined since she is a bit of a hoarder and doesn't take care of things. She has let a flooding basement go unresolved for years, and her entire house smells like mildew. So bad that I can smell it on her whenever I'm around her. She refuses to acknowledge there is a problem. Shortly after the text exchange, my mum came to house sit for one night, and I hid the chair in question because I was worried she was going to have my sister come over and grab it or take it for her. Then again recently, my mum asked me if she could have the spice rack to give to my sister. I said that I was using it, which is true. We will be hosting Christmas this year, and I plan to hide the bowls, the chair and the spice rack while my family is visiting. I'm starting to feel like I don't really want anything to do with my family at all, including the heirlooms. I'm not someone who is generally attached to things, especially when it starts to affect a relationship, but I feel on principle this is about more than the heirlooms and more about boundaries. I feel bad about hiding things, but am I the idiot? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Nope, not the a-hole. Lock them in your car trunk when they visit. If you're distracted while hosting and they snoop around for the items, they won't consider them being in your car trunk. Comment 2. Not the a-hole. I am a professional organizer dealing with a hoarded house right now and all the damage that happens when you pack an entire landfill into a home. Ugh. Now, for the update. Thanks to everyone who read my last post. It's been a week since I shared my story, and a lot has happened since then. I thought I'd give you all an update on the situation with my family and the heirlooms. First off, my mum has been acting a bit strange since the whole chair incident. She's been dropping by more often than usual, and every time she does, she seems to be looking around the house, almost like she's searching for something. I haven't confronted her about it because I don't want to start another argument, but it's pretty clear she's still thinking about the heirlooms. My brother, who I haven't mentioned before, called me out of the blue. He's the one who usually stays out of family drama, so it was a surprise to hear from him. He asked how I was doing and if I had any plans for the spice rack. I found it odd that he brought it up, considering he's never shown any interest in it before. I told him it was still being used, and he quickly changed the subject. I can't help but wonder if my mum or sister put him up to it. Speaking of my sister, she's been oddly quiet since our last text exchange. I haven't heard a peep from her, which is unusual because she's typically the type to hold a grudge and make sure everyone knows it. I'm not sure if she's planning something or if she's genuinely moved on, but the silence is making me a bit uneasy. In preparation for hosting Christmas, I've been doing some early spring cleaning. While going through the garage, I found an old photo album that I hadn't seen in years. It was full of pictures of my parents and us kids, some of which included the heirlooms in the background. It was a bittersweet moment, and it made me realize how much these items really do mean to me. I've decided to take extra precautions with the heirlooms during the holidays. I've moved the tractor seat chair to a friend's house for safekeeping. The spice rack is now in my bedroom, which is off limits to guests, and the stoneware pastry bowls are hidden in a box labelled winter clothes in the attic. I feel ridiculous having to go to these lengths, but I can't shake the feeling that my family might try to take them when I'm not looking. In the midst of all this, my youngest sibling reached out to me. She's the peacemaker of the family and wanted to know if there was anything she could do to help resolve the tension. I appreciated her offer, but I'm not sure there's much she can do. The issues with the heirlooms are just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to our family's problems. I've also been reflecting on my relationship with my family as a whole. It's exhausting to feel like I have to constantly be on guard around them. I've started to question whether it's worth maintaining these relationships if they're causing me so much stress. I love my family, but I'm starting to feel like the distance I've put between us might be for the best. As Christmas approaches, I'm feeling a mix of anticipation and dread. I want to enjoy the holiday with my family, but I'm also worried about what might happen with the heirlooms. I'm hoping for a peaceful celebration, but I'm prepared for the possibility of conflict. I'll keep you all updated on how things go. For now, I'm just trying to focus on the positive aspects of the holiday season and hoping that my family can do the same. Now, for the comments. Comment 1. Hey there, it sounds like you're in a tough spot with your family. It's clear those items mean a lot to you, and you have every right to protect them. Have you thought about having a heart-to-heart with your siblings? Maybe if you explain why these items are so important to you, they might understand and back off a bit. It could help ease the tension and make family visits less stressful for you. Comment 2. I'm curious, does your family know the full history behind these items? Sometimes sharing the stories attached to heirlooms can help others respect their significance. It might be worth a try before distancing yourself. Also, kudos to your youngest sibling for offering to help. Maybe they can mediate a conversation that leads to a better understanding all around. Now for the next story. I currently owe my brother around $300. He fronted me some money for a family vacation and said I could pay him back in December, 3-paycheck month. My husband and I are hosting a small Thanksgiving this year with the family members who live within driving distance, and my brother's family arrived on Monday to stay through the weekend. His 2 kids, 3 and 6, are generally well behaved, but they're still kids. So I let him know to keep them out of the bonus room, currently half finished, and my craft room. You all know where this is going, so I'll just cut to the chase. I came home yesterday to find the kids splayed out on the living room floor, surrounded by art supplies in ruined condition. They were finger painting with my gouache and had completely cross-contaminated the colours, drawn on my good watercolour paper with Copic markers, completely crushing the tips of the markers as well, and ruined or dirtied several items that my friend had brought me from Korea. I confronted my brother, who was nonchalantly watching TV, and he told me that he didn't let the kids go into the craft room. He had gone in himself and grabbed them just a couple things to entertain themselves with. He agreed to buy me replacements until I actually started tallying up the cost, then backtracked and said the price was bullshit and started insisting that most of the stuff was still in usable condition. I said, fine, you don't have to replace anything, but you can forget about vacation money. He snapped at me not to argue in front of the kids. I said, who's arguing? Sounds like the conversation is over. Now he wants me to pay the vacation money immediately and work out the replacing of the art supplies after. I feel like he's just going to try to haggle with me, or is going to replace my stuff with Crayola and call it even. Update. The cost to replace the ruined items minus the Korean supplies would be about $225. Getting an idea of the replacement cost of the Korean stuff is a bit harder. It was mostly journaling stationery supplies, so I'm not 100% sure how to determine the cost of, for example, a half-used book of stickers or a bullet journal that has several pages scribbled in. There was also a set of stamps that the kids tried to use gouache markers on, which I'm not yet sure if they're going to need replacing or if they can be cleaned off without staining. I was fully prepared to just compartmentalize this whole thing for the next day to get through the holiday, but my husband ended up making a call to my ex Cecile, brother's ex and the kid's mum, and discussed with her what had happened. She was particularly upset that the 3-year-old was allowed to finger paint with supplies that were not specifically kid-friendly and non-toxic, and she called my brother immediately and chewed him out for that. She also called our parents about it, which turned into a call from our mother to our brother, also chewing him out for being irresponsible. And although no one brought up the money angle, and I didn't expect them to, he was rattled enough to apologise for yesterday and hasn't mentioned the money. I think I will just pay to replace what I can and consider us even. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. not the idiot. Take the cost of replacement supplies out of the amount you owe him. Provide him with links to the supply listings, with costs for the exact replacements you purchased. Proper art supplies are expensive. It isn't your fault that he didn't know that and just gave his kids your supplies without your permission, so he didn't have to entertain his own kids. Comment 2. Professional art supplies are expensive. I bet your brother was thinking in terms of kids' paint box and crayon prices. If necessary, you should give him an itemized list and let him see how much they cost, not the idiot. Now for the update. After the whole art supply disaster, things were tense for a while. My brother seemed to realize he'd messed up, especially after getting an earful from our ex-Sil and our mum. He didn't bring up the vacation money again, and I was left to figure out how to replace my precious supplies. I started researching the cost of the Korean items, which was tricky, but I managed to find similar products online. The total came out to a bit more than I expected, but I was determined to get my craft room back in order. Meanwhile, my husband, bless his heart, took it upon himself to clean the stamps. He spent hours researching and carefully removing the gouache and marker stains. To my surprise, they came out looking almost new. I was so grateful for his effort, it saved me from having to replace them. As for the rest of the supplies, I made a list and started ordering replacements. I found good deals and even discovered some new art stores in the process. It was a bit of a hit to our budget, but I figured it was worth it to have my creative space back. A week after the incident, my brother came over to apologize in person. He admitted he hadn't realized how expensive and special my art supplies were. He handed me an envelope with $300 in it, the exact amount he owed me for the vacation. He said it was the least he could do after what happened. I was taken aback by his gesture. It seemed like he genuinely felt bad and wanted to make things right. With the vacation money in hand, I was able to order the last of the replacement supplies. When they arrived, I spent an entire weekend reorganizing my craft room. It felt good to put everything back in its place, and the room looked even better than before. The kids, on the other hand, were given a stern talking to about respecting other people's property. My brother and his ex-wife decided to set up a small art station at their house with kid-friendly supplies, so the kids could express their creativity without causing chaos in someone else's space. As for the family dynamics, this incident brought some issues to light, but it also brought us closer together. My parents offered to host a family meeting where we all discussed boundaries and respect for each other's belongings. It was a productive conversation, and everyone left feeling heard and understood. In the end, my brother and I repaired our relationship. He even joined me for an art class, claiming he wanted to understand why I loved my hobby so much. Watching him struggle to paint a simple landscape was both hilarious and heartwarming. It turned out to be a bonding experience, and we've made it a monthly tradition. The kids learned their lesson too. They now have their own art supplies and are becoming quite the little artists, under supervision, of course. My niece and nephew even made me thank you cards with their new watercolours, which I proudly display on my fridge. As Thanksgiving rolled around again, we all gathered at my house, this time with a new appreciation for each other. The kids played happily with their non-toxic paints, my brother helped me in the kitchen, and our parents shared stories from their younger days. It was a peaceful, joyful holiday, free from any drama. Looking back, I'm amazed at how everything turned out. It was a stressful situation that could have easily driven a wedge between us, but instead it taught us all valuable lessons and brought us closer together. My craft room is now my sanctuary once again, and I have a newfound respect for my brother's efforts to make amends. It's funny how life works out sometimes, but I'm just thankful that in the end, everything fell into place. Now, for the comments. Comment 1. Hey, I get the frustration with your bro, but withholding the money might not be the best move legally or relationship-wise. Maybe draft up a simple agreement on how he'll pay for the damages. That way, you've got something in writing, and it keeps things clear and fair for both sides. Comment 2. Totally understand why you'd be upset art supplies aren't cheap. It's good that your brother eventually stepped up. Maybe use this as a teachable moment for the kids about respecting other people's property. And hey, it sounds like you've turned a messy situation into a chance for family bonding. Silver linings, right? If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.